Welcome everyone to episode 170 of the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast. We're recording this live on Twitch right now at the Crystal Chronicles this October 14th, 2021. You can join us live every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Daylight Time at Crystal Chronicles on Twitch or wherever you are watching. If you are live with us and you haven't followed like Iggy just did, give us a follow. Thank you, Iggy. And we are doing a special sub campaign because I know that you love to watch me spend my resources. So we're going to do 10 tickets for every sub we get tonight. If we get to 30 subs, I will switch to gems. And if we get to 40 subs, I will pity a BT on air for your amusement. I'm the monkey. Watch me dance. Watch me dance. But hey, we also had a little trivia from our wonderful TCC intern, Poto Cedar. And during the pre-show, you can always hang out with us a little bit early and a little bit after the show. Last week, it was what banner did Mino Spellgood spend the most gems on? And the answer was Tidus EX. And it was a lot. I think close to 150,000. I'm sure Mino would not like to relive that. This week's trivia is which figure from Mark's DFFOO Play Arts unboxing video had its head fall off. You can see some of the figures behind me from the Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia Play Arts box. One of them, as I was doing the blind box opening, its head fell right off. Who was that? Who was that? We'll let you know after the show. Well, hey, I'm not alone. I'm joined by my good friend and yours. It's Mino Spellgood. Mino, how you doing tonight?
Hey, Mark, doing good. Just had a really, really busy work day. You know it's busy when I'm not even talking on Discord. I don't know what happened. Stuff just came out of nowhere.
That's what happens. Stuff comes out of nowhere. Busies you up. That happens to me on a regular basis. So it goes. But we're here now to talk about DFFOO. So a little bit of news. We did have a fixed bug, and I, for one, I don't know about you, Mino, I'm kind of pissed about this. So Core's voice lines were fixed in the most recent patch of the game, and I, for one, thought Core's voice lines were amazing. If you do not understand what I'm talking about, Core's voice lines were just grunts and moans. Thank you, Marshall, for the follow. And so all of his voice lines, which of course were long and very thoughtful and everything else, of course, just a very prophetic, very wise individual, the Marshall. Yeah, they all came out as like, and I thought that was awesome. I thought those were great voice lines to use in co-op, but they fixed it. So I kind of think that sucks. I think that's a bad call. I think you should bring them back. Mino, did you even realize the voice lines were broken?
Yeah, but I mean, was that a recent thing that people found?
Yeah.
Or has it always been that way?
I just noticed it like within the last week, very truthfully. Maybe a week and a half ago. I think somebody, maybe Simply Lost, posted a little video about it on YouTube. You can check that out where he goes through all the things. Or maybe it was somebody else. But thank you, JD Terraforce, for the subscription. We're at 8 if you want to keep count. So it is what it is. We also got some... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, so it's a recent patch that broke it, right? He didn't launch like that? I never use voice lines, so I honestly don't know.
Well, I don't play with sound on, so I definitely don't know.
Because, I mean, if it's been like this since Core's launch, that makes a lot of sense to me, right? He's a GL first. They probably didn't even get a Japanese voice actor yet. It was just somebody grunting, a Square Enix employee grunting in the microphone.
It was Joshua. It's just...
They were like stalling for time until they could get the proper voice actor back into the studios. I understand. We have a pandemic going on.
They just clipped parts of old streams where Joshua was trying not to react to Glacy spoiling things or shitting on the game. Yeah, next slide. Good job. Good job, guys. But it is what it is. So hopefully you like your new and improved core voice lines. Hopefully you're not bringing core to co-op, because why the hell are you bringing non-synergy to co-op? Come on, people. Well, we also got costumes and sales. They're all repeats. Ferris, Bartz, Ace, repeat costumes. Nothing new there. We'll have Prompto Aranea costumes. Again, repeats. Nothing new there tonight. And 4 more high armor bundles, $19.99 here in the United States for 20 high armor tokens. Mino, have you bought any of those yet? I think Nidre's bought them all. I'm pretty sure Daniel's bought them all. Have you bought any of those?
Not just yet. I'm very close. I want to get that book ingot bundle. That's like 75, right?
Yeah. That's not out yet though, right? We don't currently have one.
For high armors?
Right.
Are we talking? Wait, that doesn't exist? No, that does exist, right? Is it
no, we've only gotten one of those. We have not gotten a repeat since the first month. Yeah. Yeah.
If I knew it was that rare, I would have picked it up.
Yeah, well, I don't think we knew that it was going to be that rare, and I would certainly rather just buy that bundle than the 4 high armor bundles. Yeah, my mic might be a little loud. Let me know in chat if the mic is loud. I can put it away from my face a little bit, if that works.
But yeah, I think I'm this close because I think I blued Ace, and that took literally all of my resources. So I'm out. And who's coming this next month? I don't know. I need resources for Jet. That's it.
Yeah, Jet is not this month, but would be next month, correct? Or 2 months from now? I mean, yeah.
In a month.
Yep, December. Right? December.
Yeah.
Yep. Or late November. Could be over Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah.
That's right, Pikachu. I do talk loud. I am a professional orator, so that is how it happens. Well, let's get to the talking. I think my mic is a little hot here. Let me try to turn it down a little bit. Let's get to the actual content, and that is Dimensions End Transcendence Tier 5. So, a new tier of Transcendence, and really not a lot of time between Tier 4 and 5. This might be our quickest turnaround between Dimensions End Transcendence tiers, right?
Yeah, just 1 month for even entropies, I think.
Yeah, so just 1 month between Tier 4 and 5. It will be 2 months until we get Tier 6, and then 2 more months Tier 7, and then going forward. Remember, they're only on Tier 9 in Japan as of right now. Tier 9 just launched here a couple. So, and only 2 days between Tier 5 and Aranea LC. But sometimes, the lost chapters kind of pop up real quick. That's pretty commonplace. But, yeah. So, quick turnaround for Transcendence, and perhaps a little trickier Transcendence. I know this one gave a lot of people in the Japanese version of the game a little bit of trouble. But before we talk about the actual fights, hey, thank you, Mystic Exorcist, for the follow. Let's talk about the characters. We got Kimahri, Bartz, Ace, and I believe Ferris. Ferris didn't really get anything, so don't need to really talk about her. But Kimahri got level 80 and LD boards. Let's talk about Kimahri. Kimahri is a utility character with some support in the means of healing, regen and burst, and battery. His LD increases his supporting auras, but based on the condition that the party is above 50% of their health. Thank you, Soraya the Ranger, for the subscription. We are up to 9. Thank you very much. He still carries his bad breath debuff with attack, max brave, down, and poison, but his selling point is his total blindness debuff from his EX, which unfortunately is ignored by bosses who have guaranteed hit attacks. In my opinion, Kimahri feels a bit weaker as a shutdown unit utility support character compared to others like Beatrix, Agrias, or maybe even Arciela at this point. Mino, what are your thoughts on Kimahri with his little LD board boost?
I really like this week spread of characters because they're very... I don't want to keep using the word. They're very unique, but I struggle to... I don't know if I want to... I'm not sure how much I recommend these characters. So let's go through it really quick because basically yeah, a lot of people need a lot of power for this new difficulty, but I've also been seeing a lot of people, Mark. I don't know if you've been seeing the same struggle because of weaknesses in their roster. Like there's a lot of Lufanias people aren't able to do purely because they don't have a thing, such as
Yeah.
guys Lufania Plus is giving a lot of people trouble if they don't have the HP debuffs like Gabranthor.
Yep.
People aren't using sync well. Even like launching and delete. Like just all these fights this month so far have been a lot more restrictive in hindsight because we're used to hanging around the players that beat everything right away. But now that the other players are starting to catch up, they're about a week or two behind. The ones that clear right before an event goes. It's really clear that even some of our most veteran players like Eamon are missing huge, huge, huge chunks in their roster.
Yeah.
And all the characters we're covering this week really, really do a good job in filling that. And so, like, Kimahri is 100% blind, I feel like is really worth consideration because it's just the only, is it the only one of its kind? It is, right? 100% blind.
The 100% framed buff blind. Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, the
Chat.
only equivalent is like evasion, right? On player side.
Yeah, chat, correct us if I'm wrong. Yes, there are people with 100% evasion, including tonight's character that we're going to talk about in a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And so first of all, I feel like it's did you raise Kimahri up?
Yeah,
Did you board him
I
and everything?
ran Kimahri without his LD boards and without good artifacts through the Lufania Plus Tier 5. And then I did actually equip his boards. I did max them out. I just forgot to equip the passives and noticed a barely difference. So,
How dare you? How dare you?
I mean, to be fair, so I did run it again, and it shaved 5 turns off my run. So I mean, it made a difference. And my ace, I mean, it probably shaved off more than that because my ace did not hit any buff, any aura cards on his EX. So I was sitting on the blue or the black, I think, card. I must have been black card. I think I was sitting on the black card the entire time instead of the red or the yellow, which I was running the first time. So yeah, it probably shaved off 8 turns or so. So he did get a little boost, and he is usable. He's probably not a great solo support, right? But he does do the burst healing, and he does have HP
Fair enough.
regen. So if you wanted to put him with a support that didn't do healing, that would be okay. He can probably do for a lot of fights solo healing, especially because he does have it pretty consistent with his EX plus that 100% blind. But there are bosses that have guaranteed hits, so that's really gonna, you're just not gonna bring him to those fights. Very, very realistically, there are going to be better things. But yeah, not. I mean, at this point, we just had a new player in chat before the show. At this point, if you're going through content, you're trying to build up your roster, characters like Prompto and Kimahri do kind of act as a defensive role if you don't have Agrius, Beatrix, Arciela, Warrior of Light. Hopefully we get Zac, but if we don't get Zac for a while, then you're not going to have Zac, Galuf, Celeste, all the tanks, Edge. Yeah, I mean, if you want to go that route. So they're not terrible pickups, especially if you have a limited roster.
I think the timing's good. All right, we're Lufania Plus's main gimmick are these threshold attacks. These attacks that are coming at you no matter what.
Yep.
There's a good amount that are guaranteed hits, but there's also a good amount that aren't. And especially moving forward, thanks to Foresight, we know the next month is going to have a lot of turn warping and a lot of unavoidable attacks. Hell, a lot of the fights, Excalibur is saying newer players have used it for Pandemonium. It blocks the ads from wiping you out.
Yeah.
And T5 Reckoning, constant attack spam. I've seen Kimahri used here. Great defensive option. I was saying the biggest thing on the LD boards are that the EX feels on demand now.
Yeah.
With the LD boards, you get a charge of
Yes.
the HP plus, and then that automatically charges the EX. So the way you play around it, you have to wait a maximum of 2 turns, 2 Kimahri turns before that EX is charged. So it
Yeah,
feels very on
it's really
demand.
quick, right? It is. Yeah, it feels much more like you said
Yeah,
on demand. Yeah,
yeah. And I think he can serve as a solo healer, maybe not a solo support,
right.
but a solo healer, because even when guaranteed hits do get through, he has a decent chunk of brave and HP damage mitigation.
Yeah,
So I don't think he's a bad character. I think the timing's really good. We need to prepare to be able to take hits going forward. I'm realizing these last 2 weeks, a lot of people don't have that in their roster. A lot of people have been building for their no turning runs. So there's like a lot of Terra, Tidus, Core, Youngs, etc. But not a lot of people have a lot of defensive options. I
yeah.
think Kimahri is a good pickup for that. And him and Prompto that we'll get to are largely they don't interfere with your BT your greens and your meta DPS
Oh no.
because Kimahri is slow. He stands there and he's doing his job for the most part.
Yeah, he is not a difficult character to play. Just upkeep his buffs. Make sure that you charge the EX appropriately and use it when you need to, and then use the LD after the first use for burst healing, and you're pretty much good. And then skill 1 and skill 2 kind of spattered in there whenever you need it. But pretty straightforward character, I would say, but that doesn't mean anything for a lot.
It's just not a it's just not a bad pickup. Like if you're gonna gun, he's on Ace's banner,
Yeah,
right? Like if you're
correct.
gunning for Ace and you pick him up, there's no reason not to build him up, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. Especially if you're missing Beatrix, Agrius, those other kind of shutdown characters. Definitely a good pickup. And if you're a newer player, again, might be able to help you in some content that you might realize you need a little bit more defensive for. So, yeah, definitely J.A says definitely blue him. He is blue. So, you owe him. You should have blue armor and you should equip his LD because that is blue as well. So I think that's the best combination. And all blue spheres. That is my and then HP C50 passives. That's my no. Don't do that. Give the poor man some attack. But good. Yeah. Well, let's move from Kimahri to Bartz. He does use blue magic. Yes, thank you. Bartz gets a BT plus. That's all he gets. So, with his BT plus, 3 out of 3, Bartz becomes the pure support that we always wanted with Enchant in Peril. Of course, he's got Battery and Brave Shave via gravity attacks. Bartz has the unique role of being to imperil enemies without applying a debuff. With his BT plus, he now also enchants the party. Just to be honest, Bartz really doesn't get much. All he gets from this iteration is BT plus, 3 out of 3, is Party Wind Enchant, and Brave gains up 25%. But that is really enough to make him, in my opinion, the best Burst Plus of the month, and actually for quite a few months to come in terms of his just utility and support. We don't really get a lot of support BT pluses besides Bartz and Y'shtola for a while. So some utility, you could say Zidane and Ace have some utility, and some other ones coming have some utility, but a lot of them are just kind of big damage dealers. Bartz is just really good at doing his job. Sits there, providing great support to the party, battery to the party, elemental, imperil, and enchant. And the nice thing is you can also skip his blue armor because it really doesn't do anything. It does something for him, but it doesn't do anything for the party. So you can save some ingots and blue somebody else, blue your damage dealers if you want. But yeah, Bartz is great. I greened him. I think everybody is going to green him probably, unless you greened Y'shtola and are focusing in on her. Wouldn't hurt if you greened them both. If those were your 2 picks for this month, you're going to find great uses for him. Mino, what are your thoughts on Bartz?
The party enchant was all he needed.
Yeah.
As people are saying in chat, that's basically in a vacuum a plus 50% brave damage up. from hitting elemental weakness, and then you're also proccing any crazy spheres or passives that need weakness damage or whatever as well.
Yeah.
It's really just all he needed. The Brave Gain's a big bonus.
Yep.
You know, that Brave Gain's just as potent, I think more potent than like Agrius and Porum's.
Yeah, it would be less potent than Y'shtola's, who's at 50, but hers is the best, right? Hers is above the rest.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure how much you want to defend Y'shtola, because Bartz's biggest sale is that Brave Refund on his BT effect, right?
Yeah.
That's why people bring him. That probably makes up for, if not performs better than just the Brave Gain up on its own.
His BT, which we already had, is truly loaded. Now, it is a stacking BT, but that's really not a problem. And he is so slow that even if you only bring him and use one of his Burst or Burst Plus phases, he's going to sit with eight turns for a long time. Like, he's not burning through those.
Yeah. And he's perfect for no turn teams.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Perfect for them. And like you said, him and Ish, the last support greens you'll see for at least another month or two going forward.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd consider. I mean, I mean, I don't even know who you'd consider. I mean, is Kucha technically support? He does have some support roles.
It's hard to say.
I mean, the vast majority of BTs are damage dealing BTs. Yes, some of them have more utility than others, but in terms of just a solid support character who can serve in that role, sit on the team, provide the auras, provide the battery, provide enchant and peril, he just does it, and he does it with a BT plus, and nobody else is going to be doing that for a while. So obviously, a lot of people did green him in JP because there was a thought that you needed to have him green to beat tier 5. We're going to talk about that in a minute. That's not the case. Rip Fujin Call. No, I still use Fujin Call. Still the most broken call. Bluejin for life. There she is on screen. Best girl Fujin. There's all girls on the screen right now. Some better than others. But Bartz is great. Anything else on Bartz? I mean, is there a team? Yeah. Is there a team that he doesn't go well with?
I don't think so. On a formal note, there's not much to say. This is hands down the best green of the month.
Yeah,
the best support green for a long while. There really is no excuse not to get him, or basically, there's no fear in fully investing in him unless you're an insane hipster.
Yeah.
But also on a less formal note, I've seen a lot of people really hyped to run Reigns Mal on a lot of fights going forward, but are hesitant to green Bartz. And that makes no sense to me, because if you're going in on the combo, you might as well go in on the full combo. If you've already pulled 2 separate characters and fully invested in them, why not get the third?
Yeah, here's my objective opinion, because I know you all come for our objective opinions. If you're going all in with the Rainsmau combo and you're gonna main that and you're gonna get as much as you can about that, you are foolish for not greening Bartz. He's the bread and the peanut butter and jelly sandwich of Rainsmau. He brings it all together. It's hard to eat. Yeah, I mean, you can get a spoon and you can just shove peanut butter and jelly into your mouth like a barbarian, but you put it on a couple pieces of white bread, and man, that's a sandwich, people. Cut the crusts off with some nice calls and spears, and we're going. If Inkwelder's listening, that's how you do it. That's how you do an analogy. That's how you do an analogy.
Well, I mean, but just saying, people are able to Rainsmal the last few fights without
Yeah.
Bartz because he didn't show up. So now they think it's how it's going to be moving forward.
No.
It only gets harder, guys. It's like Bartz makes it smooth sailing. I mean, Bartz makes it smooth sailing, but also just why would you not want such a big support to enable your roster?
Well,
Because
not just for Rainsmal. It's not like, you know,
for like anything, yeah.
Aphmau was worth pulling, in my opinion, for Reigns alone. That combo is very, very potent. But Bartz is a character who can fit on pretty much any team and perhaps enable some of your favorites and perhaps fill in kind of as a great third slot for a lot of other team comps.
Yeah.
And I mean, we'll probably talk about this a little bit, but I think you said on the Ranting Hour last night, everybody check out Black Nero on the Ranting Hour on YouTube, Black Nero on YouTube every Wednesday night, the Ranting Hour, 7 p.m. Central Time. I know. But you made a comment about, you know, people approach DFFOO by saying, here's the team I want to bring and trying to get that team through all content. I've never approached the game that way. My approach is always, here's the fight, who should I bring? And I think a lot of people get focused on, I'm going to bring this team, when maybe that's not the best team. And Bartz is that character that can just kind of fill in and really support whoever you want to bring.
Right, and the last thing I wanted to say is there are a lot of meta supports that people hyped for Lufania Plus that a lot of hipsters skipped on and are regretting very hard right now. Porum and Setzer, people skipped because they're like, well, nobody's necessary. But I've seen these Porum skippers struggle very hard in Lufania Plus. Same with especially like Kurosame Call. I've seen a lot of people struggle much harder than they need to with Kurosame Call. Green Bartz just feels like one of those no-brainers. Like, this is 100% going to make your DFFOO experience easier. Why are you shooting yourself in the foot? There's no reason not to do this. We have enough resources to more than Green 2 at this point. And this feels far more necessary than Reigns.
Yeah.
Right? Like, guys, please don't skip Green Bartz unless you're very confident in yourself. For the average player, don't skip it. This is a foolproof character. You can't even fuck this character up. Like, just press buttons and have him stand there, and he's going to up your power so much.
Well, I suppose you can hit his BT Plus and then burn through 3 uses of his AA. Like an idiot. But hey, if you bought the LD pack and you're looking for a good LD to pick up because you didn't think about it before you spent $80, Kurosame LD, get that Kurosame call if you don't have it. That is it's going to be tried and true LD call for a long time. So pick that up. Hey, well, let's talk about Ace. Enough of Bartz. Let's talk about the real champion of this tier and this week. It is Ace who gets a rework level 80 and LDBT. It's time to ante up, kids, because Type Zero's Ace is back with a rework, level 80, LDBT, and BT+. Ace deals a mean hand with his rework, making Skill 1 and Skill 2 add to the action. Ace's LD applies the face-down trap hole card so your enemies don't see what's coming. After the enemy action or with another application of Ace's LD or new HP+, we head straight to 7th Street as the debuff transforms into Blind Stud. Blind Stud is certainly a difficult game to master, but the bosses will fold as they take damage every time you or they act. Ace is a great bet as a magic and off-turn damage dealer. Ace is wild with his BT and BT+, but certainly you can call it with his LD alone. I don't know about you, Mino, but I'm all in for Ace.
Did you write that down?
I did.
Oh my god. I could
how many poker puns, poker references?
I just kind of like glazed over once I realized it was rehearsed. It felt very, I could feel the rigidity. No, I'm just kidding. It was very good. But I was like, there's no way Mark is doing this off the cuff. All right, Mark, how do you play Ace?
Well, how do you play Ace? You apply his LD, and you either, if you're letting the boss take out, Theologica, Who wrote that Ace intro? Thank you. That was Black Nero wrote that for us. Shout out to Black Nero on YouTube for that wonderful Ace. He's a big fan. Big fan. Sorry. Really appreciate that. Everybody check out the Ranting Hour on Wednesday night. So Ace, he can apply his LD debuff. It is that one-turn debuff, that face-down hole, and you can let the boss act, and then it flips over and is now a 6-turn debuff that ticks down every time you attack or the boss takes an action, does that follow-up trap. If you want to no-turn the boss, you can reapply with his special HP plus. That will flip over the card. And the only reason you would do that is if you're trying to give the boss no actions or no turns. So, yeah. So,
okay, but how do you play him? Which one was more optimal?
Which one is more optimal? It depends on what team you're playing, and like if you're bringing him with Zidane and Kistis, then it's more optimal to just burn through the LD and the and flip it over, I think, manually, and try to get as much damage out of him as possible. But generally speaking, if you want to extend the life of Ace, depending on what you're playing, you want to let the boss take actions, and so you're going to want to mitigate that. But I mean, it depends on, like, for tier 5, I didn't give the boss any turns, so it was fine. Yeah. So I just burned through the LD and HP plus attack to flip over the card manually, the debuff manually. So, and that was fine. Did plenty of damage.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't need anything else.
All right, just check it, Mark. Just checking. I think after copious amount of research, he's been out less than 2 days now. Less than 48 hours. I think a no-turn team is better. I really do think the best way to do Ace is to LD HP plus and then run out the face-up card. 100%. Because then you have both cards up.
Yeah, you double up on the defense down.
That's 80% defense down on its own without any other help. So that's a lot.
Pikachu. If the bosses cleanse, like the co-op boss currently, the card does flip. Yep, that is correct.
Right. So not only that, right? Because bosses tend to cleanse during like recasts. Thresholds. Yeah. Yes, but also recasts. It's better to burn it all on your own. At least that very first charge, right? So you LD for a face down, then you HP plus, you flip that, have yet another face down, burn the face up, and then that face down is there for any cleanses or when the boss actually moves, right? Yeah, so I think I finally realized it is not that complicated if you run a no-turn team. In fact, it's better.
Yeah,
you're guaranteeing. Oh, go ahead.
Leviax just makes a good point. If you are doing a no boss turn team with Ace, he will not be able to flip over his last buff, his last trap. So you'll sit with that last trap, but it is still providing defense down. Hopefully you'll kill the boss before that, but even if you don't, it's still providing that. So yeah.
Agreed. It still gives the defense down.
Yep.
But even if you do it, so the best way to look at it is, I think a lot of people did what I did initially, and you try to have the traps up as much as possible. And I realized why that's dumb. I tried to play him like Eldnarsh. The reason it's dumb is it's how you calculate damage over time, right? So, Mark, if you throw that trap on there, it's 1 turn face down and then 6 turns face up. So basically, the only way you count that is it ticks 7 times. It's 7 trap hits.
Yeah.
As long as you get those 7 trap hits, even if you run out of traps, LDs, and HP pluses by the end of the fight,
doesn't matter.
You got your full 7. Yeah, you got your full hits. Like, even if he runs out, it's not like Aphmau or Rainsmau where you're like, oh shit, I ran out, halfway through the fight. I'm out of power. No, it's you want to run it out, right?
Yeah.
That's how you get the maximum damage. Otherwise, if it gets cleansed early, if it gets replaced early, you're losing that many trap ticks. Could be
And,
3 here, could be 4 there. Go ahead.
and Ace is thank you, Cross. Everybody check out Historia Crux on Cross's channel, Cross 13 Defo, and Dissobia Bard is just making more poker puns. No one made the obviously poker face pun either, but yeah, no, right, and Ace's skills are doing great damage. Skill 2 and Skill 1 are both doing good damage. His EX is still doing good damage. So it's not like you're just sitting on the debuff, the traps.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
the traps are just that extra damage, and you want to run through those traps, right? In ideal times, with ideal support and everything else, you want them to do as much damage as possible. But at the end of the day, yeah, he's doing really decent damage, and I don't think he's as complicated to play. Although there might be a skill ceiling with how you play him, but yeah, I agree. In running him in a no boss turn team, he felt very smooth to run. Right?
Yes, I think that's ideally he wants to be paired with speedsters who can take his trap. He also wants multiple targets because he applies his trap to all targets, and then they constantly go off on each other, right? So the more targets there are, the better. But yes, I'm finally of the opinion he's not a complicated character to play. I think you need to play him as a no-turn character. You want to play him and give the enemy as few turns as possible, but his kit is flexible enough that if the enemy gets turns, it's no big deal, right? Like ideally, if you run it on a no-turn team, all of his traps will tick. You will see all trap ticks. If you don't, that's fine. It'll still activate. Like sometimes you just can't move, right? Like the Shiva Loof that everyone's talking about. Sometimes you're frozen and the traps will go off by themselves. That's fine. Sometimes you're just playing with a slower team, like Sync and whoever, Sync and Kimahri for some fucking reason. And that's okay. It'll tick when it ticks. It's just flexible. But I think ideally you do want to do a no-turn team and then just run it like that. Anything else is extra. Anything else is slightly suboptimal, but he'll do fine. That being said, very unique niche of him and Trey are the only ones with this type of off-turn damage, right? We're talking about going forward, people like Core, or people who follow up like Prompto coming up, all these other characters. If they're frozen, if they're disabled, you're not getting that
right
off-turn damage, right? But this will be constant and on enemy turns, so it'll trigger breaks. It'll do a lot of like it's very unique off-turn damage. I think for that alone, his LD is very, very good going forward when you don't want to take too many turns. The next cycle is all about not taking too many turns, but doing a lot of damage. How do you do a lot of damage without taking a lot of turns? A shit ton of off-turn damage, and T5 middle was an example of that, right? I think you needed off-turn damage to do this fight. I didn't see a single team that didn't have 1 or 2 off-turn damage characters.
Yeah, Silocons is saying Leon can do that, and Tree Void Xdeath BT can do that as well, and in a little different ways, right? Excalibur just reminds us that the trap is also activated by any action, AA, calls. Yep, it's any action. It's not just attacks. Yeah. So... yeah, very good. So let's look out. If you want to check out more...
Xdeath BT, sorry. You're right,
Xdeath BT, yeah. If you want to check out more information on Kimahri, Bartz, or Ace, TonberryTroupe.com has beautiful infographics. You can check those out, TonberryTroupe.com. Let's go to the podcast polls and see what you all thought. Thank you to Quetzalma of MaterialBot, J.A. Helps put that up on our Discord. You can always jump on our Discord and vote on the poll and let us know what you think. If you have your own Discord server that does DFO stuff, you can also include that, and your folks can vote on that as well. So across 10 servers on the Bartz banner, nobody pitying Bartz LD. So our Bartz BT, everybody seemed to have it. 1 pity for the LD, may have been Ferris. 11 people tickets and 150 skips. Bartz was hyped. A lot of people already had his LDBT, and I saw a lot of people token Bartz BT. So maybe even people bought the LD and just tokened the BT. Obviously, a lot of people skipped because they already had it, not because Bartz is not good. Going to the Ace banner, 6 people going to pity the BT straight out the gate. 48 people pitying the LD, 4 wantingly using gems, 102 tickets, and only I'm surprised by this. Only 13 people skipping. So that's over 150 people. How many total we have? But over 150 people using resources on this banner. 13 skipping. Wow, that's very interesting. So good luck. I hope you all didn't have to pity because that would suck. Well, let's look at Dimensions and Transcendence. DFFOO is updated. Let's not look at it. Let's update our game for a second. Let's look at Dimensions and Transcendence Tier 5. We'll start at Crucible 1, which required a green crystal user. Remember, in Transcendence, right and left, or Crucible 1, Crucible 2, you need to bring a certain color to get all the clears. So Crucible 1 was green color. Of course, Ace is a green crystal user. It's 2 Lunatic Heavy Gunners. They resist melee and range damage. The orb ticks up whenever the enemy receives an attack triggered by an effect that decreases. So anytime the enemy takes damage from an effect that decreases. So Ace, X-Death, Vivi, Core, Porum, Celeste, Leon, Furion, Trey, all options there. The ones that are not magic damage dealers, you need to make sure that you enchant them or they're not going to be doing a lot of damage. When the boss has a blue aura, you need to break them. When the boss has a green aura, they get a shield, and you need to break it, or else they do a big attack and they kill you. The bosses can actually also delay you. It's a 1-turn delay if they don't break you, 2-turn delay if they do break you. So be careful not to get broken. Pretty standard in DFFOO. You should know that by now. I brought Ace with his LD. I don't have his BT at the moment. And I remind you, if you want me to chase the BT, give us a sub. I think we're at 8 subs right now. So 80 or 90, we're at 9. So 90 tickets, but 30, and we'll switch to gems 40, and we will pity the BT. I used Ace, X-Death, and my Kimahri with no LD boards, and they did just fine. So Mino, remember, this is just Lufania. This is not Lufania Plus on Crucible 1 and 2. Moving forward, that's going to be the case. Crucible 1 and 2 Lufania, Reckoning Lufania Plus. Mino, anything about this fight?
Nah.
Yep. This was garbage. These fights are pretty simple, but
Yeah.
we'll cover them briefly. So Crucible 2 was the yellow crystal, and I believe Bartz is the yellow crystal featured on that as well. No, Kimahri's black, right? Yep. 2 Cavaliers, and they are immune to elemental resist down. So there was a lot of drama in the Japanese version of the game because people thought you had to bring Bartz BT Plus to clear this. We'll talk about that in a second. The orb ticks up with elemental weakness damage done, +2 if it is wind elemental weakness damage. Again, hard selling Bartz. Bartz BT Plus is not required. You only need the base call. The base call of Bartz enchants the character that you called, the caller, 6 turns with wind, and also applies that invisible wind resist down. So just with a Bartz base call, you can bring 1 character and pretty much manage the orb. I brought that on Y'shtola, and I had no other. I did not bring Fujin. If you want to double up and bring Fujin call and enchant the whole party, bring Pandemonium, summon, and get that, elemental resist down, uptick orb, great. But you can do it just with Bartz. Like I said, I brought it on Y'shtola, managed the orb, no problem. A lot of people were no-turning this fight because if you give the boss too many actions, too many turns, they do power up to a point where it becomes very difficult to do damage to them. I brought Zidane, Cloud of Darkness, and Y'shtola with Bartz base call. Could have used his LD. Me know anything about this and the drama? There's some drama going on in chat, which I have not been paying attention to. But anything about this fight?
I don't know what. Uh, but no, I'm just saying. How did how did JP veterans wipe on this fight? I don't know. I'm probably out of pocket on this one, but Jesus Christ, you really don't need Bartz at all. Like I don't even think you need the call. I'm pretty sure with a burst and a summon well timed, and a DPS team from the last month, you don't need to check the orb
Well,
at all.
you can also do it with Von, right? Van can do it just by himself. He can tick up the orb. It would be his skill too. Can tick up the orb, but so he can do it by himself. And then, yep, you bring Pandemonium Summon, and you can probably manage it fine. It might be a little tricky. Yeah, it's easy for us to say. But yeah, there was some Doom posting. Jin Lee says we are JP or GL elitist. Everybody check out Jin Lee on the YouTube. But I don't know. Obviously, we knew about it.
I don't know how these JP content creators were making videos for years. I don't know how you can play that long and struggle on this with or without Bartz. All I have to say. All I have to say is BC said on the ranting hour. BC words, not mine. Go find him on Discord if you've got beef. BC said, "I can't wait till GL hits next month because by then we'll be completely caught up to QE's questionable design video.
Yeah.
We'll have seen every single fight that he's named in that video and that Jet Stingren backed up. Just a reminder, if it's been a while since you've seen that video, some of the most doomed fights were Gladio Lufania. They're saying Sabin was required for that. That one was elemental weakness and delay. If you guys remember that one, that was supposed to be an impossible fight without Sabin, and this one was supposed to be an impossible fight without a green Bartz because he was the only reason to take the orb. I don't know how. But there's some others. Anyways, in about a month, we'll be completely caught up to when QE made that video, and it'll be a treat to go back. I'm pretty sure we can all.
Thank you, thank you to Raw Life of the live stream for another gift sub. We're at 10, so that's 100 tickets in. Extra sub for Mino choosing violence. But yeah, and it's not like, oh, people are struggling, they can't read the language, they don't know what's going on, they're pressing buttons, right, like fools. But it's about people that were like going on and doing Doom posting videos and getting thousands of, thank you, Dank RPGs for the subscription, appreciate that. We're at 11 if you're keeping track, but going out of your way to Doom post and get views from Doom posting and fear mongering and all this kind of stuff. So about specific things, that really were not perhaps as difficult. Of course, in the moment, sometimes things seem difficult. Give it a while, give it a week, let other people figure it out if you're having trouble. And work around it. We got great people in our community helping out because we can't always figure out stuff ourselves. Sometimes we need help. Nothing wrong with that. But it's the people that try something and say, this is shit, this is garbage, this is bad content, etc., etc. And, oh, there's the cat. And that's the end of the story. So, back off. Take a chill pill. Relax.
That being said, Mark, I agree with what BC also said recently, is that it's actually probably better for the community that there's all this Doom posting, because it seems like when really hard fights are Doom posted, GL community is more prepared for them.
Like, always, 100%.
Yeah, well, like Sephiroth Hell Month or the transition into Lufania Plus. Far less complaining than the fights that were not Doom posted about, like Yuna Lufania. Nobody thought that was worth Doom posting about, and then that slapped a lot of people in the face. Or there was that small period right before Lael's BT or around Lael's BT. That was like a surprise month that nobody talked about that caught a lot of people off guard. I know like Tonberry Troupe was getting really frustrated around that area, around Iroha Wales or something. I remember there's just a stretch of fights that if nobody talks about them, Nobody prepares, and these are the fights that are actually objectively less difficult than the hyped fights. They're
Yeah.
actually less difficult, but because nobody talked about them, GL isn't pulling in advance for them and preparing for them. So honestly, if all this doom posting gets people to prepare, then I guess I don't mind it.
Yeah, we do reap the rewards of the beta testers, and we're always appreciative. So thank you, all the beta testers out there playing the inferior version of the game. In the future, we appreciate you, and we appreciate your struggles. You have paved the way for us to have an easier life, much like our parents may have paved the way for us. You are paving the way, and so we thank you. We tip our hat to you.
Ancestors before us.
Like our monkey ancestors before us. You have paved the way. My cat is sitting on my
I didn't know how to read either.
They did not know how to read. That is a great point. Just like people who play the Japanese version of the game and don't speak Japanese. So, yeah, I like that. Very true. Well, hey, let's talk about the real fight. And that is the Lufania Plus Reckoning. You fight one royal mummy and 2 mini mummies. Say that 5 times fast. The orb, fairly simple. Enemy brave is less than 10,000 after any turn. The mini mummies can add brave to the royal mummy, and they can also apply the debuff grudge to your characters, which is brave and HP poison. This is important, 79%, 49%, and 29%, regardless of what's happening, unless you are in a burst or a summon phase. The main mummy, the royal mummy, will send, he actually has an attack called Demanding Sacrificial Attack, and he sends the mini mummies towards you and they explode. If they are above 50% of their health, that attack will most likely kill you. If they are under 50% of their health, much less dangerous. So the main thing in this fight is managing the adds, managing the mini mummies, making sure that they are always under 50% when the royal mummy, the main boss, hits that threshold. So make sure the adds are under 50%. When the boss gets down to 79%, then he resummons them. Make sure they're down to 49% or lower. When he gets to 49%, then he resummons them at full health. And then make sure that they are down 49% or lower when he gets down to 29%. And then he will resummon them, but you don't have to kill them. Again, you'll be fine. Anything else? There is a couple other gimmicks in the fight if you give the main mummy some turns. Maybe you remember some of those things. I brought Zidane Ace and my no LD board Kimahri and deleted that main mummy to hell, and had great AoE damage and splash damage with Ace and trap damage with Ace, and Kimahri was there too, so it was a really good time, and did it a couple times just for fun. So Mino, it's really all about managing the mini mummies, in my opinion. Mino, what do you think about this fight?
I don't know. It was pretty standard, other than the only note I had was I underestimated the mitigation I needed to bring.
Yeah,
because they hit hard and often.
They do.
But nothing really to note on my end.
Good, yeah. Jin Lee says, shows how OP Kimahri is. Doesn't even need his LD boards to beat Dimensions and Entropy. Lufania Plus. That's right. Kimahri was rocking no LD boards when I brought him, and he just did his thing. God bless him. Good old Hornless. So, hey, if you're struggling, you can always check out Jin Lee's video. He burned through it with Terra Yang Core, I think. That's a good strategy. A lot of people did Rain's Bartz, Afmao on this. I personally chose to save them for next tier because Black Nero told me to, so that's what I'm doing. I always listen to my father. Or is he your father? I don't know whose father is who. Anyway, I always listen to Black Nero. But I'm saving them for the next tier. Also wanted to use the Don, so figure save them for other times. You can also go to DissidiaFFOO.com. Our friend Macnol, you can see the full boss guide there. And I think Excalibur's little blurb is on the main page at DissidiaFFOO as well. If you want to join our Discord, if you're looking for help. Now, let me just say this. If you're looking for help, you can come onto our Discord. We have a help section, and we also have a channel dedicated to Transcendence, and we have all kinds of clears. You can search through there, see a team that might work for you. You can also go to the call to arms on DissidiaFFOO and do the same thing. You may come into our Discord and ask for help, but I encourage you, don't come into the Discord or go to Reddit or go to Facebook or Twitter or do whatever and say, how do I beat this? Try it and say, what am I doing wrong? And then wait. People will give you some advice. People will give you some tips and help figure out how to manage it yourself. If you teach a man to fish, it will be much better than just giving him a fish, right? Because he'll be able to fish and eat for himself for not just one meal, but for meals and meals to come. So we want you all to learn wherever you are in your skill level. We're never going to make fun of you to your face about how bad you are, right? Maybe in private, but who cares? You're not paying attention to that. But we all understand we're all at different skill levels here. So don't feel free. Don't feel like you can't come in and ask questions. That's great. But please realize, we will make fun of you to your face if you're like spouting off like how easy Lufania Plus is, and then you get stomped the next time. We'll call you into question. We'll keep receipts. You come in cocky one time, but if you're truly looking for help, if you're truly really a newer player, trying to figure stuff out, hey, we got all kinds of people who really do want to help you, and often just try to help you without giving you the opportunity to help yourself. And I think that's CSDX, give a man fire and he'll be warm for a day. Light a man on fire and he'll be warm for the rest of his life. Yes, it's very true. It's very true. Good advice. I like that. All right. Well, hey, as we transition from Dimensions End to our new Lost chapter, which is going to hit here in a couple minutes, make sure you take some time, go through the notes of YouTube, Discord, wherever we've posted this, wherever you're watching this. And check out all of our friends who are making content. I've shouted out several of them before. A lot of people making content. If you're not on that list, if you look in the YouTube comments or you look on our page or the podcast notes and you don't see your name and you're making good content, reach out to me. Let me know. If you're streaming on Twitch and you want us to check you out, please let us know. Hey, X Ross, thank you for the Q&A with his Chocobo points. Can we sell BT Plus 0 out of 1 and 3-3, and what will it give us if we sell it? I don't think you can sell BT Plus, right?
Yeah, it's impossible to sell BT Plus.
You cannot sell a booked BT Plus. I'm gonna try it, Jin Lee. Jin Lee on YouTube in the Fireside Chat. Let's go. This is a great question for learning. View sell. I have a Y'shtola. Yeah, I think my Y'shtola is booked here. Let's unlock it. And look, you can't sell it. I got a green here. Let's unlock it. Can't sell it. Another green here. Let's unlock it. You can't sell it. Look at that. You can't sell it. So that's the answer. There you go. You cannot sell a realized BT regardless of how many ingots it has in it. So, they're equipped. Okay. Oh, okay. You're going to be like that. You're going to be like that. I guess. Okay, here we go. Let's look. Yes. Come on. Nobody likes Y'shtola anyway. I just got to the point in 14 where she gets that outfit. So very exciting. Very exciting. I'm a little concerned that Tataru picked the sexy boots. Also a little intrigued. So I've unequipped Y'shtola BT Plus, and I still cannot sell it. It is unlocked. There we go. Science. All right. We figured it out together. That's the learning. Blessed Tataru. You have given us so good. So, so there you go. It is impossible to sell a BT Plus. Hey, I got a question from our friend Inkwelder from the Tonberry Troupe. He writes, I'm thinking of adjusting some Tonberry Troupe passive recommendations for non-elemental attackers to lean towards elemental damage up over generally useless passives like Shiva passive 5, Ramu passive 7, or Pandey 5. What are the host's thoughts on choosing wind damage up and ice damage up on characters like Reigns, Tidus, Zell, Ace if they plan to green Bartz or commonly use Kurasame Call? Mino, I would really like to hear your answer to this question.
I remember we talked to Ink about this. I don't remember if this was a sarcastic question or not. Like, I don't remember if he was asking this to make a point that summon board passives and artifacts and spheres don't matter, or if he's genuinely BC. Are you still in chat? Like, you would remember. Is this a serious question? I don't know whether to answer this seriously or not.
I feel like this is a serious question. I cannot answer that definitively, but I feel like this is a serious question, and we do. We have a little channel called Theory Crafters Incorporated, filled with foolishness and tomfoolery, and so this seems like the kind of thing that the min-maxers among us would like to do. I don't think it matters. But on the other hand, right, if you want to squeeze every ounce of potential out of your character, why the hell not? Sure. Equip them with the elemental. If you're going to run Reigns Aphmau with Kurasame Call and Bartz BT Plus every time, give them wind damage up. Hell yeah. Give them ice damage up. Who cares? Sure, why not? It's not going to hurt you. You're not sacrificing anything for doing that, but again, at that point, it's, we're min-maxing for points of percents, and who knows, little tiny numbers. in a 2 million damage launch, you're talking 50 damage, something ridiculous. So,
all right, if we're answering this seriously, I don't like to do that. I like my passives to be very universal.
Yeah.
So I think we were talking, like, a good example is not Odin. Yeah, Odin, right? He has that passive, that sneak attack,
Yep.
more damage when you're not being targeted. So I don't like picking that up usually unless there's nothing better. I would rather pick up the really minuscule stats, because I know Tonberry Troupe has mathed this out, and they're like, oh, well, 2% max brave and attack, etc., is so tiny. You're better off on the sneak attack, but I'd rather have something that's always in play than not in play. So if you're fucking respecking your Shiva passives to get more ice damage because everyone runs Kurasame, that feels, I don't know. Like, yeah, Kurasame's lasted a long time, but he's not going to last for the rest of DFFOO's lifespan. That's one. And then you feel beholden to always bring him.
Yeah.
Limiting your comps a little more. And there's the ice absorbs and everything. Like, I don't want things that are conditional. I don't like it. So specifically, my serious answer is no, this isn't worth doing. But I do want to address something that I think has been being thrown around in Theorycraft Inc. and Raw keeps bringing up. And this is one thing I reluctantly agree with Raw, is basically, ironically or not, everyone in Theorycraft lately has been saying, or Inc. himself has been saying, spheres are such a marginal difference, it doesn't really matter what you put on. Spheres don't matter, artifact passives don't matter, summon passives don't matter, etc., etc. And I agree with Raw when he says, well, if nothing matters and you take away all of that, it starts to add up. And I agree with Raw there, where if you're just saying none of this matters, don't equip any artifacts or board passives or spheres at all, you're going to start to see a big difference. Yes, like the difference between 2% and 5% on like these refined spheres or whatever is very negligible. But if you start taking away all of that, it's starting to add up to like 50%.
I think we're at a point where, right, if you don't do anything, if you don't have any of your boards done, your board spring base stats, that's real bad. I think it's one extreme or the other, right? We're not talking about all or nothing. We're talking about get the best passives you can, right? Get the best passives you can for your artifacts. If you can get best in slot artifacts, great. If you don't want to grind that hard, at least get 3 attack 108s and try to get your C50s. Or if it's a C50 character, try to get the C50s, right?
Yeah, Jin Lee's saying don't stress out too much, not don't do them.
Right.
That's fair.
That's
players coming in, which they do, because we've seen, Mark, people enter our fucking Discord and immediately go into that Sphere channel.
Yeah.
And I feel like the nuance is lost there. Can we reword it instead of the meme of none of this matters?
Well, again, and it's not, put your basic passives on your summon boards. You don't need to min-max it. Just put the basics on there. And when it comes to spheres, if you want a sphere character, you don't have to. But yeah, if you're using a character, throw 3 refined spheres. Mix attack and brave damage. Like, if they're an attack character, if they got the Paladin Cecil, use that. Other than that, yeah, focus on attack. Focus on brave damage. Mix and match. If you're doing something, it will be enough. That's the issue. And so, it is. Don't sweat it. Yes, you can min-max and maximize the full potential of a character till you're blue in the face. And you can argue about it and get about, well, it should be this and this and this. And some people like to do that, and God bless you. If you want to do that and figure out, get your crazy math game on, wonderful. But there's a lot of people who don't need to do that are stressing out about it. Don't worry about it. Throw 3 refined spheres on them. We got some good refined spheres right now in the sphere shop. You get more sphere mats than you know what to do with. So build some up. Get some nice ones on there, right? Do your passives, but you don't need to min-max every single team combo and redo your board passives every time you have a new fight. Just do the basic passives and you'll be good. Do solid arts and you'll be good. So
yeah, fair answer.
A TUI project is saying min-max matters most when you want to stretch a favorite past their expiration date. Right. If you want to squeeze the juice out of the lemon until it's gone, then summoning ink welder.
Is that you?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get the ink welder energy going tonight. So he had to leave early last night. So I just wanted to honor him. But yeah, if you really want to get as much out of the character as possible, or as Jin Lee says, do the TCC extreme challenge runs. Where it's really tight turn count, you might want to squeeze one more turn out of the run, then yeah, you can min-max and go crazy. But for the most part, especially if you're new and starting out, don't worry about it. And yeah, if you are using actual spheres, because they are a fairly limited resource, maybe pay a little bit more attention. If you're using refined spheres, not something you need to worry about because you can just make more of those. Anything else about that, Mino?
Nope.
All right. Well, let's move to Commodore of the Skies, our brand new Lost chapter. It's hard to believe because it's let's look and see if there's anything. Aranea costume, Prompto costume, Lost chapter draws. Is any sale interesting? Nope. General sale, nothing exciting. That was breaking news. Breaking news. We got a new content. Hard to believe because we've had Aranea as a GL first. We've had her event twice. Now this is her Lost chapter. So this is the third time we've seen Aranea Highwind. She gets her high armor. Hooray! And that's it. So sorry, Aranea fans. She's doing everything she's doing. She's not getting anything else. Prompto, on the other hand, he gets an LD. So let's go over Prompto real quick. Prompto is a little bit of a jack of all trades in DFFOO, where he's doing range damage. He gives a little bit of support, a little bit of battery. He can lock the enemies on himself and then evade enemy attacks. He can also debuff enemies. So he's doing a little bit of everything. His LD this time around gives him a stacking buff with additional party support and the new Link attack. Different than Core's Link attack, but still a Link attack. Well, his LD buff passive, or his LD buff past overcome, he's overcoming his past, is at least
obesity, his childhood.
Yeah,
type 2
he
diabetes.
overcame his obesity, which was rough since he was well, let's not spoil Final Fantasy 15 in case you did want to play that. But he was a fat kid, and he overcame that, and he didn't have any friends, and he got friends, and he was weird around girls, but he got over that too in the DLC. And Aranea helped him with that. She's great. I love her. But so if his past overcome buff is at 2 stacks or higher, after an ally's turn, not after his own, he will do a link attack. This is an instant break attack, or it inflicts the break debuff, or the break status, excuse me. And it's a follow-up with that batteries the party and inflicts a massive attack down, like 70% attack down on the enemy. So he really does get a boost, although his kit's always been a little interesting and a little all over the place. He really does get some nice additional utility with the instant break and the battery and the attack down and the follow-up or, additional attack there. But I don't know that he's, initially somebody I was going to skip. I am pulling on him tonight. And if you want me to pull more subs means more pulls and switch to gems and potential BT pity. So there you go. But not necessarily someone I would encourage you to go by. But as Mino said earlier, if you're new in the game, you're lacking some diversity in your roster, he does kind of tick a lot of boxes and cover a lot of different roles. So he might be willing to pick something up. So what are your thoughts on Prompto, Mino?
I feel like he's filling the same role as Kimahri here, where if you don't have something moving forward that gives you that is a defensive player, you need some defensive players going forward when enemies are guaranteed attacks for a while. Prompto is once again. People are saying it's hard to peg where he is. I almost want to say he's like a more defensive support. I don't know how, if people are going to argue against that, because people are like, oh, well, he does really good damage for a defensive support. But I still feel like, I don't know. Why would you bring Prompto? Because right now he has, with the LD, he has a very decent regen heal.
Yeah.
So he can heal. He's got a very good dodge, he's like a dodge tank. He's locking them down and then evading. He does reduce their damage coming in, and I think his attack down is 70%?
Yeah, it's 70% on the attack down, yep.
Yeah. So I'm saying I would honestly peg him as a defensive support like Kimahri. Sure, he's going to do more damage. He's a newer character. But definitely, if you don't have a defensive character moving forward, also another way, another character that is reliant on evasion over brave and HP mitigation. So, interesting choice there. And also, his follow-ups are limited compared to all the other characters, right? Ticks down his overhead, so that's very interesting, and that's probably because they're all instant breaks.
Yeah, it ramps up. So every time the follow-up goes off, his buff ticks down stacks, and then the stacks can go up depending on what he's doing. So there is a kind of an up and down. In practice, I don't know how that plays out. It may not be that big of a deal. It may actually retain itself quite well, but it very well may not. I don't have any experience yet.
It just means he actually needs to take turns.
Yeah, right.
And he can't be a support that sits there like Kimahri can. You can't Rain's Mao and never give him a turn.
Yeah.
Like you can with the other more traditional supports like Kimahri and Bartz. You actually have to give him turns is all that it means.
Yeah, Laventine says building up follow-up is weird gameplay, in my opinion. Yeah, a lot of people will probably not like Prompto just for that kind of ramp up, stack, and burn down, the tempo characters, as Mino calls them. A lot of people don't like that at all. So
I feel like it's pretty natural as long as you're not denying him turns.
Yeah, I don't think he's as difficult of a tempo just on paper as a tempo character to play as others may be. Like Sync was pre-LD, he's pretty simple in that case. Depending on how you get his other mechanics, because the uptick is based on the special debuff or the special effect. Break mark, break mark. You have to have to hit targets with break mark on them, so you need to manage that from his earlier kit. Well, if you want to learn more about Prompto and see his beautiful infographic, that's at TonberryTroupe.com, and you can learn a little bit more about how to play him and how to use him. If I pull him, I'll use him, and you can watch me use him as well. Well, that brings us to... let's go to the podcast polls. Ken, this is just on 7 servers, as this is a new poll. But across the 7 server, and thank you to Quetzalma Materiabot for that, 2 people willing to pity Ace's BT. Man, I'm going to pity the BT on this banner, not Kistis. Very sad. 11 or 7. Wow. 5. That's the number that I'm looking at. 5 people willing to pity the LD. 1 person using gems, 73 tickets, and 61 skipping. Kind of all over the board with that, but obviously a lot of people skipping out on Prompto. And that's probably not a bad idea depending on where you are in your roster. So let's move to the actual fight. And thank you, Scott Ong, for doing the fight overview, which will be on DissidiaFFOO.com. And also Scott Ong's YouTube. He often brings the slides, the PowerPoints that he does on the fights, and talks through them a little bit. So if you can check out Scott ONG on YouTube as well. So Scott sent me this before the show, and I'm sure Excalibur will have one as well. And Tonberry Troupe also has some research. So I think Anomander does the research for Lufania Plus for Tonberry Troupe. So for Aranea's Lost Chapter Lufania Plus, which we have not had the chance to do since it is live, you are fighting 2 superior knights. The orb is +1 when you do critical damage and +1 when you do range damage. So characters like Prompto, Aranea, Barrett, Cypher, Setzer, Trey are all viable ranged options. Barrett with the ability to provide critical to the party. This is his time to shine, folks. If you got Barrett and want to use him, this is his time to shine. Let him shine. Give him a moment in the sun. This is it. So if you try to, here's the secret sauce, folks. If you try to no-turn the boss and you do not give them a turn before they reach 79% of their health, they will go into an extreme defensive stance and get 200% HP damage reduction, and you will probably not be able to kill them. Hey, somebody may be out there and going, they just may burn through it. We'll see. Most of you, it would be better if you want to no-turn the boss, give the boss 1 turn, and then you should be able to no-turn them just fine. They get these yellow streaks or auras, and that means they're immune to brave damage until you land a critical hit. Instant breaks, like Prompto and Trey do, and guaranteed crits, Aranea, Barrett, are really good for that use. So you really want to make sure that you have VL. Check out VL on YouTube, a great JP player. Never Doom poster, so always check out VL. Yellow streaks. Watch out. Better than brown streaks, but that's a different situation. Let them have their first turn, and you'll be good to no turn then. Yeah. But they do get some shields, and they go from white, yellow, and red. Each time they get a new shield, it becomes more mitigation. I think it goes from, 10% brave gain, 20% brave gain, 30%, and then 10% brave damage reduction. 30% brave damage reduction, 50% brave damage reduction, depending on which aura they have, the white, the yellow, or the red. After they get the red, they will do a pretty damaging attack, so be careful to mitigate if they have the red shield up and you let them attack. Prompto can evade that attack, I believe. At 79%, they gain that brave reduction and brave damage reduction. If you don't break them, it will be even worse. If you don't break them, they will do a dispelling attack at 79%. Let me start over. At 79% of their health, they get a lot of brave, and you need to break them. And with that brave, they get brave damage reduction. So you need to instant break them, and if you don't, they do a big attack that will likely dispel you and kill you. They also do that at 49%. So if you're giving them turns, be careful. Mino, we haven't played this fight yet, but anything that you know about it or have read about it that you need to share?
No, I don't really look at these fights beforehand going in, but
Me neither, but I did for the show.
I don't know. I think I'm thinking Trey for this.
I think Trey is definitely a. I think Trey is definitely a VIP for this fight, MVP for this fight, or VIP. But yeah, I think Trey. I think if you have Trey in your roster, I think this is a really good opportunity. Range damage, instant break, constantly ticking up the orb because of the traps. So really good. And you can enchant him with Bartz if you got Bartz BT. So I'm thinking Zidane, Trey, Bartz is going to burn through this pretty easily.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, no. Mark, you have to use Barrett.
He does.
Range damage and 100% crit rate. So he's constantly taking the orb, and you pulled for him. And I think you said you pulled for him and didn't even use him in his own.
I have never used Barrett. Yes, I've never used. He is the only character, the only LD I have that I've never ever used because I got him.
So you have to do it now.
So I will attempt a Barrett run. And hey, listen, all of you who are listening, if you want a fun little challenge with Aranea LC, all three of our or the three GL firsts that we got kind of back to back, Belthier, Sarah, and Vincent, all ranged and all have their LDs when they did not have LDs in JP. So I think there might be some interesting runs with. I think there might be some interesting runs with some of those. Sarah is magic, yes, but she is not range damage. She has a bow. Come on, Jinli, make her work. But I expect, since Jinli is here, I expect a Vincent clear on this Lufania Plus.
We better see a Vincent clear, Jin.
We better if I don't know if Jin has Y'shtola. I think Green Y'shtola Vincent could really do it well because he doesn't synergize real well with Bartz, unfortunately. So, but yeah, a lot of green. Your green ace is going to work real good. Jin hasn't greened anybody, so great. No greens. We don't no greens, no bursts. But we got to see Vincent. I expect to see a Vincent clear of this fight. Shouldn't be the hardest fight for everybody, but just make sure if you are going to no-turn it. Yeah, any chance, Starscream, any chance his BT Plus comes early. God help us if it does.
I just can't see BTs being moved because the whole point of BTs is to sell every other shitty banner under their run.
I think, I would love if Vincent's BT Plus came early. That would be awesome. But I think the 2-week BTs are probably off the table. That being said, the side BTs might be moved around. I could see the side, like Bartz Y'shtola. So I could see future side BTs maybe getting played with a little bit, but again, who knows? It really messes up with their schedule. So, they have that 2-week BT window, and I think they like to keep that. So,
yeah, Silocon asked in the beginning of the show, why is there a 6-day gap between events? Because they want the BT, like they always have that big of a gap between BTs. The BTs have to run for 2 weeks.
Yep.
And then I believe the very first banner with the LD always disappears when the new one comes. So pretty sure Zidane's LD disappears as soon as Ace's LD hit the scene. Yep. Exact same time.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. Yeah. Well, good luck to all of you. If you stick around, I will pull when the show is done. And if you want to sub to make me pull more, feel free. Just to give you a check, we are at 11, so that's 110 tickets right now. You want to give more subs, we'll push that up to possibly gems or a BT pity until the show is done. So let's move from that. Again, DissidiaFFOO.com. You're going to find great resources there. Our friend Excalibur, Scott Ong on YouTube, great resources. All kinds of run videos are going to be out there. Come on our Discord. We have a help channel and a channel that I probably haven't made yet for Prompto. Did our TCC intern make that yet? Did somebody make a thread for Prompto LC? I'm saying if any of my mods are listening, somebody make a thread for Prompto LC. I'm doing a show right now, but if you could do that, that would be great. I didn't do that this morning. I was spending time with my wife, so I did not do that. But, thank you. J.A did that, so that is done. Oh, I didn't see it because I probably didn't open my threads yet. Yeah, that would be there we go. It has a thread. And Aranea LC, Lufania Plus. Thank you, J.A, our wonderful mod. Always, hey, if you're in our Discord, don't act like an idiot, because our mod, J.A, he will destroy you and send you to the Shadow Realm or the Nether Realm or whatever realm that you might be sent to. Sheol, Gehenna, Apocalypse. I don't know. Whatever your poison. Just beware. But yeah, you can jump on there, share your clears, and also if you're looking for help, come on, ask. Happy to help. All right. Well, you can also go and to podcast questions and ask your questions. So, Mino, what the hell's going on with everybody sucking at this game? Like we're seeing a lot of problems with people recently, struggling with Lufania Plus, struggling with AFMAO, Reigns. What are the obstacles that prevent players from improving, in your opinion, in DFFOO? So I'm playing DFFOO. I'm getting used to it. Like, what's preventing me from becoming better as a player? How can we help players who are struggling improve past whatever hurdles they need to jump over? You hear what I'm saying?
I can't believe you're asking this question. I think was this on the outline? I was unprepared for this. I have answers, but
it is.
Okay, then clearly I just didn't prepare today. How do I answer this without accidentally insulting somebody? This is going to be a real challenge. I'm not sure it's possible. So, okay. All right. First and foremost, holy shit. I want to say I am not calling out anyone in particular. If you think this applies to you, it is purely a coincidence. I promise. First and foremost, the first thing you got to do to get better is you got to stick with it, man. Like if a strategy isn't working or a team isn't working or you don't understand a character, you got to give it more than 2 tries before you give up. You gotta put some time in and learn the nuances of the characters and the teams and the fights. I see all over the community a lot of times people get really frustrated when it takes them, let's say, 1, 2, 3 tries because they're like, oh, there goes an hour of my time.
Yeah,
I'm very upset. Reigns Mal wasn't able to one-shot this right off the bat. Or I'm very upset that I planned a team in my head. It's not working out on paper, and I refuse to adjust it, right? So I guess persistence is the first thing I would say to people trying to learn the game. Would you agree with that? Do you have another one?
Yeah, no, I think, practice makes perfect, right? And that there's a reason we say that. If you want to master something, 10,000 hours, the research says. I probably put 10,000 hours in this game. I don't know about, no, maybe not that much. But, yeah, again, the level of when there's not an event, this is a 15-minute-a-day game at most. You could even do less. It could be a 30-second-a-day game if you just want to do your dailies. If you want to do dailies and co-ops, 15 minutes a day when there's not an event. So when there is an event and it takes an hour, well, you can spread that hour over the week that you have to do the content. like it's not, I've heard people say, I'm so busy. Like, that's okay. Like, if you're, I don't even want to, if we want to get in that, if you're too busy, to learn to play the game at the highest level, don't play the game at the highest level.
There's so much violence in chat. How much violence do I want to choose today? I'm sober. I don't want to fight anybody. But Eamon said, not just suggesting meta and let people think for themselves for one. I don't know how much I agree with that. I want to ask Mark that as a parent, as an actual parent. I really don't like the don't give people advice, let them figure it out on their own. Let them do their own thing. I feel like that's a really terrible way to raise kids. But I don't have kids.
No,
What do you think?
again, it's not like we were talking about earlier. It's not an all or nothing. So again, like I said earlier, if you're struggling, come on and ask for help. But what people are often doing, at least, not, and I'm not talking about people, in our community necessarily, on our Discord who watch the show. I'm talking, I see on Facebook, on Reddit, on Twitter, etc., in other comments on YouTube, in my comments on YouTube sometimes, this kind of, tell me what to do. And yes, there is a time in our lives when we need to be told what to do. Like, that's how we learn. That's like, please do, this is how you do this. And that's okay. Like, there might be a time when, you're new to the game. This is how you need to, build up your characters. So, you come and you read the guides and you look at the resources we give you. We will send you to places to get good information, or we'll help you. But there are people who should I pull? Should I blue? Should I green? Like, every single event. Who should I sphere? Every single time. How do I beat this fight? Every single time, over and over and over again. And at that point, they're not spending the time to learn. And so, I think you need to help teach people how to actually overcome, or at least equip them with the tools to actually learn how to do these. Because the vast majority, of us, at least of our inner circle, and a lot of the people who are part of our community, aren't asking every single fight, how do you beat this? And so part of that is just by the practice. So, I tried, I failed. What am I doing wrong? Would you watch this video? Like, we do that all the time. Come and stream on our Discord. We will watch you and help you see what you're doing incorrectly. Oh, you summoned too soon. Oh, you're not using your supports well. Oh, this is the order you should do this in next time. This is how this interacts with the boss. And so taking that time where you're really starting to learn, we're willing to invest. We got people on our Discord who will invest in you, but often there are people that just want to just be told, be spoon-fed forever. And we see that in all wakes of life. And you might not get better if that's your approach.
I think there's two paths to go down here. The original question is, what are the biggest roadblocks people are hitting? And then the other thing that we could talk about is, what's the best way to teach people? I'll get back on the roadblocks, but I think recommending meta is good.
Mm-hmm.
You got to give them the baseline to experiment. If you don't have like a green Bartz, there's much less experimenting you can do. Meta buys you a lot of wriggle room. If you don't have a core, there's a lot less experimenting you can do.
Yeah.
Like, the whole point there's some crutch metas that let you get away with a lot more. Kurosame calls, Setzer, Poro. They're meta for a reason, because they help so many people. So, Eamon's the person who asked this question. Eamon, when I was teaching you Strive, or when when we were all teaching you Strive, we gave you some basic go-to combos to let you not die immediately, and then you branched out from there. You have to teach. You have to give people the fucking basics. So I think recommending meta is never a bad thing. That also being said, Eamon's just greened Bartz tonight out of fear of the upcoming fights. So clearly, I don't think he believes what he's saying. So I'm just gonna throw that out there. But roadblocks. The first one is persistence. The second one is people don't know how to do math. That's really is. Everyone in chat is saying reductions, stacking debuffs, stacking buffs. It just comes down to math. It really comes down to, do you know how to plug numbers into a formula to get the biggest number possible? And so it really is just.
And how does that play out? Because people, we do see this, right? People do not bring enough support, so there's not enough attack aura, or there's not enough HP damage up, or people are trying to do one debuff, but it's really not a useful debuff, so they're not stacking. So it's just people not realizing kind of what's being brought to the table. Running, why didn't Cloud, Lightning, and Squall beat this, right? Because that's the first banner that you can pull on.
I'm not sure if I want to re-engage him. Really quick, and then we're moving on. One more response. He said the point was not to recommend meta, not to. The point wasn't not to recommend meta Mino. It's absolutely fine. I'm that just. I'm trying to clean this up. I'm just saying recommending meta is doing this because people just pick the easiest option and not notice the nuances. I mean, Eamon, again, like you have a ton of holes in your roster. You were complaining about how hard T5 was because you didn't have any trap characters. You had none. And like you're not pulling with enough variety or leaning hard enough on the meta, because I remember when Lufania Plus came, you kept saying, how do I do this fight without Agrius, Pora, Mishtola, or Setzer, or any of these meta characters? And it's like, I just don't know what to say here. Like, but the point is, yes, lean hard into these metas because you're extremely crippled because you don't have the nuance in your roster to cover any of these holes. But moving on, the math thing is just I don't. It's just a math thing. I don't want to throw. I forgot who said this. We had this discussion in Discord today where they're saying how would Reigns, Mao, and Core as a third perform, or COD as a third, and it's kind of like 3 DPS added together is going to do less damage than 2 DPS and a big support, right? It really is just knowing the formulas and plugging in the math. You like it's knowing how to get the bigger numbers. Throwing in a support is like a multiplier, whereas throwing in another DPS is like adding a number. So that's just really study, and that's just knowing basic RPG fundamentals, I'd say. What would you say to that?
Well, and I think, CSDX is saying even though Reigns Mao has some nuance, it's still a one-time learning versus the nuance of dozens of different kits. And that's right. Every kit is a little different. And so until you have some hands-on experience, it might be a little hard to say, okay, how does this character perform? How does this character interact? And right, you may not get Reigns Mao the first few times you use it. You may have to practice to really get a feel for how that team works. The people that mastered Lightning, Lightning had a lot of nuance in the earlier eras, spent a lot of time playing Lightning. Jin Lee really hammered down on Vincent and really showed us how Vincent could thrive when a lot of people thought Vincent wasn't very good on his GL first LD. And so, but yeah, that took a lot of times. That took a lot of reps and a lot of math and a lot of understanding of how you build a team, as opposed to just throw 3 characters on and hope it works out. Because although the ad says, play your favorites, and that original ad says, the little kid says, you can play all 3, right? You can't just throw 3 characters on a team and hope to get through the hardest content in the game. You can throw 3 characters on a team and get through chaos, maybe, at this point. Maybe even Lufania, depending on which characters you bring, but when it's that high, it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
and I think I have a third, and then we can stop there, which is
great.
Shit.
Lists are hard.
Sorry. Yeah. No. Yes. I was answering chat. What is the third? Oh, right. Flexibility. Right. You mentioned, I said this on Ranting Hour yesterday. I don't think the correct approach is to build the team before you see the fight.
Yeah.
It's to see the fight and build around the fight. So basically, if we're using the math analogy again, we're talking about formulas. The fight itself is the formula you have to solve, and your characters are the variable. If you try to just choose the variables before even seeing the problem, it's trying to solve a math problem before even seeing the problem. Just saying like, okay, I'm definitely there's gonna be 3 slots to put numbers in. There's an X, Y, and Z. I'm gonna choose 3, the number 3, the number 7, and the number 9. I'm gonna shove them into these slots until it works. That's not how it works, right?
Well,
you have to see.
I think that's super important, and similar to what I was saying earlier in terms of somebody jumping on Discord and saying, who should I bring to this fight? Well, go into the fight and look at the boss description. And okay, I need range damage. I need critical damage. So okay, let me bring, let's say I bring Zidane, Bartz, and Trey. There's a good range damage character, right? So I go and I just try to no boss it. And the first time I do that, I realize at 79% of the health, I can't do any more damage. Well, that means I need to give the boss a turn. So then I go back, I try again, I give the boss the turn, and the boss kills me. Well, then I need to bring some mitigation. Or that goes fine, and then the boss shoots up this huge brave, and I don't have an instant break. So then I need to bring an instant breaker, right? That's how you learn. You get a little bit used to it. And I know some people that's frustrating, but that's how, even in Final Fantasy, I know we trash on, Final Fantasy games aren't the most difficult. But that's how you learned in video games. Unless you had a guide, unless you had a strategy guide, you fought the boss, you died, and then you tried the boss again. I mean, I'm playing Final Fantasy 14 right now with a few of my friends. And we're just playing it casually for fun, going through the story, doing some of the raids, some of the dungeons, some of the trials. And I'm not looking up anything before I go. So we fought Bismarck, right? I had no idea going into that fight how to do it. And, I've played long enough that I picked up a couple things. I know, if there's a glowing thing on the floor, don't stand there, right? I figured out a couple of the mechanics, but we've played in, we've done raids or dungeons where, we've died half a dozen times because we're learning the fight. We're not just seeing we didn't read up on it. And if I was doing a end level raid, maybe you'd want to figure that out before you go in there and spend 3 hours of your life doing it. But the way we're playing is the way that we've played video games our entire lives for, 35, 40 years now. I wasn't playing video games when I was 0, but, by the time I was 5, I was probably playing video games. Definitely by the time I was 8, I had a Nintendo. So, well over 30 years where, you try and you die and then you try again. It seems like a lot of people just don't want to do that.
Yeah, that just goes back to my first point of persistence. Yeah. It really is Mark said a raid might take 3 hours, and I said in chat, LOL, 3 hours. And GR18 saying 3 hours in a JRPG not enough. No, raids take significantly longer than. So I was just saying, no, but right, like. A lot of these people who get frustrated say they don't have the time to keep trying over and over, but that's just a requirement of the game, right? No. It really is. BC was saying he was playing the new Metroid game yesterday, and a single fight took him 2 hours of trial and error, and that really is just gaming.
And it's okay, right? If you don't have the time, that's okay. That's okay. You can prioritize other things in your life. That's fine. But don't expect to come on and beat everything in the first run. I mean, I do because I'm better than everybody. But for most of you, right, it may take a few times. And if that's too much, okay. It also doesn't mean you have to sit and devote 2 hours hitting your head on the wall for a fight. You don't have to beat it in the first 24 hours. The fights last for 2 weeks. The limited rewards are 2 weeks. You can try it a few times over the course of the week if you want to be the best. Like if you want to do the end game content in DFFOO, you don't have to do it all at once. That's okay. But so great insight there, Mino. Persistence, pay attention to the numbers, and be flexible. Great insight for not just DFFOO, but I think for all of life, folks. That's why you come to the Crystal Chronicles. Nowhere else are you getting the kind of life insight from no other DFFOO content creators. Are you getting such rules to live by? And so we appreciate those. So a couple questions from our Discord here. I really like the current BT. This is from Joe Wags. Really like the current BT Plus cycle, and I put the green on Zidane and Bartz, but I also want to green Ace and Yish. I'm not interested in the next months of BT characters, and I'm thinking of using next month's materials to green these ones. Will Y'shtola and Ace be viable long enough for this to be worth it? Would skipping next month's greens be a bad idea for any reason? My advice is yes, all 4 of these BT Plus characters this month are very good. They are very viable and will be for quite some time to come. You will not have likely enough resources given next month to green all 4 of them because you may have enough in these first 2 months. We got extra resources this month. So just like any corner street drug dealer, the first month you get a little extra free, but then the second month, if you want it, you're going to have to pay for it. Although Japan did not get the black ingot bundles until month 4 of BT Plus era. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully we get a book bundle next month, but you may not be able to do all 4, but I don't think that there's any must-have next month that you would be dead without. In fact, I think for the next few months, you can probably live without them, and these are probably not... At the end of the day, I think these 4 BTs will rate high here in the first few months of Lufania Plus. These 4 BT Pluses are some of the strongest we see in that time. Now, that being said, the upcoming months have big damage dealers, and these are not the big damage dealers. Ace, yes, to some extent, but they're, you get Twins and Jet, and you get some big damage dealers. So, Mino, any thoughts about that?
We said early on that you really can't go wrong with your greens because they all stack.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. Like, they all stack together. You can stack 3 greens in a party and benefit. There's no, limiting factor to a green strength. So, honestly, green your faves and play however you want. If you're concerned with difficulty, depending on your skill level, like Mark said, it's pretty front-loaded, right?
Yeah.
Any of these 4 are fine, and you're choosing 2 among the 4. So these are probably more necessary than needed. For the hardest month, the ones that come out like COD and Twins, they're nice to have, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of friends up that you can use the effect for to get you through fights. So I would say you should feel good about greening any of these that you prefer.
I would just say look ahead a little longer and make sure you don't have some favorites coming out that you do want to green. You make sure that you keep some resources to make sure you don't end up with a favorite that you can't green later on. Oh, that would be the one thing, because I know for me there's a section of just a month or 2 where there's going to be like 4 or 5 characters that I want to green. And so I'm not going to be able to do that if I'm spending continuously. Silocons asks, how do you feel about X-Death and Ace not being key characters on their other cycle Lufanias? So X-Death was not necessarily the best choice for some of the fights in his cycle. And Ace, for here, the orb, he does not tick up the orb. He doesn't do range damage. And he does critical hits, but he doesn't have instant break or anything else. So he's not maybe the best choice, but he's not terrible in this cycle at all. But I think that's kind of moving forward. The LD characters, the LDBT characters aren't necessarily always the best choice for the fight. And one of the reasons for that is the difference between greening them and not greening them can be a big difference. So I think you just kind of have to realize we're moving past the domination of 2-week synergy. At least that's my kind of take on it. I don't know what you think about it, Mino.
I disagree. I feel like X-Death was insanely good for all of his fights. Let's go over his fights again. So obviously he was great for his own, right? HP poison for the orb. The other 2 had big shields that he melted through. You had Zonde.
Yeah, true.
You had Zonde that they would spam. You had to melt those shields, and they would spam big HP attacks. His EX locked them, so they did no damage on their big HP attacks, and he melted through the shield. And then what's the fight after that? X-Death, Zonde. Anybody remember?
Act 3, Chapter 4, Part 2.
Vivi's fight, right. They also had enormous shields and constant, like, X-Death BT was very, very good for all the fights of his cycle. I could easily say that. Ace, You have a point.
Black Cloud says not hitting the orb doesn't mean they aren't good for the fight. That's a very good point. And like I said, I don't think Ace is going to be bad for this fight, but you're going to need to bring some people to support him and deal with the orb and deal with the instant breaks that you might need. So, but that doesn't mean he's going to be bad. He's synergy, and he's a synergy BT character. So Ace makes things dead. Yeah.
Best utility. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. You said it, Mark. Ace brings the best utility there is. Killing them before they get another recast off.
That's really helpful. So yeah, I mean, I maybe the better way to say it is you need to get over the idea that 2-week synergy will always hit the orb. You will need to continue to bring other things to deal with the fight just besides the 2-week synergy. The 2-week synergy is not going to solo everything moving forward. And you might not bring the 2-week synergy at all. Now, if you invest in them fully, you're going to be able to bring them through their cycle, I don't think, with any issue. But if you don't, you'll probably be okay. I think that's maybe one of the differences. Blart, our good friend Blartanian, check out Blart DFFOO on YouTube, and he's also on the live stream. Would you like to see Reckoning bosses reused in other content like Heretics, Abyss, or should they remain unique? So we do have the Reckoning bosses, like the Crazy Wheel, the Mummies. They are unique to these tiers, and we've not seen them again. I don't care. I just want Tonberries at some point in the game. New bosses are good bosses. Would you be upset if you saw them repeated, Mino?
I think it's inevitable. Yeah. Have we? I don't think we probably haven't seen any of these Transcendence enemies yet. Right?
I don't think so. I don't know them all off the top of my head, but yeah, I mean the Mummies are new, obviously. The first one was the Wheel of Fire. We've not seen him again. The second one was the funny looking bird, the parrot. Haven't seen the parrot again. The third one was the weird eyes. Yeah, the snake pods, the Medusas. We've seen Medusa types, but not those Medusa types. And then the last one was the Grand Rocks, the Sanctuary Keeper. So those were at least variations, but we've not seen those particular variations repeated. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's got to be inevitable. In FF14 they do it all the time. Like they design all these raid bosses and mechanics, and then the next expansion they just put them in regular dungeons.
Yeah.
So I don't think Mark's there yet. At the end of like Heaven's Word, you'll see coil bosses right there in the dungeons, just for shits and giggles. Exact same fights with less HP and everything. Huh. So there's no reason not to reuse the assets, right?
Right.
FF14 does that because Yoshi P always said not everyone is doing endgame content, so this is a chance for the rest of the players to see it. And that's
I'm okay with it if we get more of the whatever it was called the last time we got that special content, more Abyss, more of whatever that last content was that we really liked.
Yeah, Equinox. Right.
Yeah, the Equinox content. We all really liked that. So, yeah, reuse bosses to your heart's content if it's new content and GL exclusive content. Yeah. And SS Vegito asks, do you expect a new Abyss anytime soon? A Lufania Plus Abyss. Abyss is permanent content. I can't imagine they're going to just forget about it and never offer it again, but maybe. Like, who knows? Maybe. Like, Japan's never gotten Abyss, so it is a GL exclusive thing, and it's been real hit and miss. So maybe they do. Maybe they will take it. But I would say we should see some Abyss. I'd like the 6-man that Japan got. I'd like some of that earlier, or more Equinox. Or if the Abyss is like Equinox, that would be fine in my opinion. Less nodes and less stuff, and just big fights, different fights, interesting fights. So that's it. Well, thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, let me answer the question.
I didn't. Yeah,
no worries. I like the idea of permanent Abyss, I don't know how much more often they do it. Those are permanent rewards, right? It's probably a big deal. whereas the temporary events like Equinox and then the temporary abysses, was there a permanent abyss after the temporary abysses we got last anniversary? There was, yeah,
Yeah.
the Dulahan, yeah.
Yep.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to do mostly temporary events moving forward. That's more beneficial. Leaving permanent resources on the table is hard, right? That's why like they don't want to give us too many resources. That's the same reason why they reduced the bugged entropy rewards when they reran for GL,
Yeah.
saying like, sorry guys, come on, like we really can't keep giving out gems like this.
Yeah. No, right, you're right. And yeah, it's a good. Yeah, as a new player, if you roll a new account, there's a lot of content and a lot of rewards. You can really build up and pull. Yeah, so if you're a brand new player, right, pull on everything this month, and then maybe start saving and looking ahead. But yeah, start building up your roster because there's tons of rewards out there, and you do need several characters to get through content. So obviously, with Dimensions and Transcendence, we're at tier 5, so that's 30 characters that you need to get through that. You can duel a couple of them, but why do it? All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. Stick around for the post show. I will be doing my polls. We are at 11, so that's 110 tickets. Anybody wants to sub to push that up to more tickets, we'll do it as we go. We'll see. Thank you all for your support. The next content is a Heretic event, which will be Kistis LD on the Ace banner on the 20th, and then the Squex community mobile stream on the 25th. We should be talking more about what it is going on in the future. So if you're watching us live on Twitch, thank you for being with us. Do give us a follow. If you're watching on YouTube, do give us a like, a sub, and ring the bell for notification. If you're listening on your favorite podcast app, do give us a rating on whatever app you're listening to. And we appreciate all of you. So for myself and Mino Spellgood, this has been episode 170 of the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast, recorded on October 14th, 2021. Good luck on all your Prompto LD polls, and we'll see you next week.